Test 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I filmed this dressed all princessy, and I did not film it. So I thought I filmed it and I didn't film it. So now I'm doing this. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Still 500 subscribers, so I'm excited about that. I'm ready to get a little bit more, but that means I need to be a little bit more consistent with my videos. I appreciate all the support, and I have another one. I know I was gonna do Comey Can't Communicate, and I still have that script written, but I just haven't found the interest to like do the video yet. I think I'll probably pick it up later. I have another one going actually. It's Flowers for Brandon Fraser. Like I want to talk about that. I think it goes really well with what I'm trying to do here as far as, helping people with and stuff like that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Brandon Fraser. You might get a clue why I find him an interesting subject to talk about. Let's get to it. There's something about the 2011 movie Sleeping Beauty, written and directed by Julia Lee. I think it's pronounced Lee. I'm not 100% sure. It might be Lay. I know somebody who has this name written the same way, Leigh, and it's Lay. But I heard somebody talk about this exact subject, and she pronounced it Lee. So I'm gonna go Lee, but I apologize if it's not. It is about a young girl in her early 20s, Lucy, played by Emily Browning, who I just adore. I think she's such a cutie. And the fact that she went the indie route is just up my alley. So she's an interesting person. So she starts exploring different ways to make money with what she's got. Before we go on, I would like to acknowledge how, when watching this film, I got flashes of headlines and images of the Epstein Files case. As the theme of this movie, although not about the files, does indeed imitate a similar situation, such as young people trying to survive their life situations by doing what they can to better their lives, and how the wealthier can and do take advantage of others because of that. And we'll talk about that later. Plus the inspiration of the movie, because it's kind of like it goes hand in hand, kind of like with that subject, Also, as a female myself, I feel many girls go through the thought of possibly going down the road of using their sexuality to help make money in some way. With all the movies, television shows, books about escorts, strippers, fetish professionals, sugar babies, and sex performers giving young, impressionable girls ideas about how to manipulate the system with their own gender's prowess, especially when they finally become of age to be on their own and now must make a living to survive. We first see Lucy in a whitewashed lab of sorts. She is asked to open her mouth and swallow a device. At first, I was puzzled and had to look it up. Turns out I'm still not 100% sure, but I do believe, after some studying, that it was like some paid study of sorts, just to make some extra money. We cut to Lucy at college, showing us what stage of life she's in. Then we jump to Lucy at a bar where another woman takes her to a pair of well-dressed, white-collared men who suggest that Lucy sleep with them. She says which one. They flip a coin. The winner says tonight. She says tonight or next year. He flips tonight. She says now or in 5 hours. He flips now. We start to see the content of Lucy's life, how she struggles to pay rent.
Have you got the rent?
Despite working at a restaurant and an office doing some kind of clerical work. I just saw her like making copies and stuff, so that's pretty much all I saw her do. How she visits a male friend, Birdman, on what seems to be on a scheduled time, possibly every week. Their time together is awkward yet loving. In the Hey You Guys interview with Julia, she's asked about the relationship. She reveals that they are really close friends, two people that refuse to be well adjusted. Julia follows that with how she remembers in her 20s forming intense friendships with others around the same age, possibly due to being without structures of compulsory education and finding your own way in life for the first time. When reading that, I was brought back to my own experience as a 20-something-year-old who lived like a wild child in the middle of Austin, Texas. A very liberal city with many colorful characters, good, bad, and gray. And I have to agree, many of my friendships did not last or they changed, but those relationships were very intense. It felt like hanging on to a life raft in the middle of the ocean, scared and lost, but refusing to let go, still trying to find some sense of stability in my own way. We see Lucy indulge in experimenting with alcohol and drugs from time to time, as some 20 somethings do. We find out her mother runs a horoscope hotline, which doesn't seem to be going so well, as she calls up Lucy at her office job, asking her for her card information, putting pressure on Lucy in her position at her job. And judging by the annoyed look of her superior's face, it seems like this was not the first time. Lucy's life is seen as unorganized chaos, but with a silencer. The whole tone of the film is silent. There is no soundtrack in the movie, only hints of film scores during intense times of the film, especially when it comes to the group who I will call the questionable gentlemen. They act, dress, and sound like upper class gentlemen. But the motives behind every action is indeed questionable as Lucy goes through her life, quietly hoping for more, for better, but always struggling to get there. Lucy goes in for an interview in a posh and high class hall of sorts. She walks into a lavish office and is told by a fashionable upper class woman named Ghislaine Maxwell. And that's not how you pronounce her name, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it, is Ghislaine, but more straightforward about the fate of who she's scouting out for these upper class men. She tells Lucy about the job they're looking to use her for. Lucy will start off as a newcomer, but if they see potential, she will be given more responsibilities. She's then told to strip. The interviewer, Clara, and her male assistant both carefully and too closely scan every inch of her skin before nonchalantly approving of her condition. Lucy is sent to a spa to get pampered and prettied for her first day on the job. She is then sent to a mansion where a lady dressed in black lingerie orders her to put on a shade of lipstick, the same color as her labia. And yes, I am serious. This is when we meet the group of questionable gentlemen that Lucy, now dressed in white lingerie, and the other ladies dressed in black lingerie serve and entertain, despite being purposely tripped by one of the gentlemen while serving brandy to the group. She is told she has done well and to come back again. Lucy goes home and burns one of the currencies she had earned that evening, seemingly hypnotized by silent indifference. A raging numbness takes over the scene. I listened to Video Blonde's video essay on Sleeping Beauty and found that her thoughts on Lucy's lack of alertness over her own autonomy really rang with me. I am yet thrown back into my early 20s, and the mentality I had then was similar to Lucy's. Lost, numb, all wrapped up with a why not little bow on top, testing my own boundaries, even crossing a few just to see what would happen and if I could benefit from it in some way. In an interview with Hey You Guys, Julia reveals that her inspiration, some novellas by Kawabata and Garcia Marquez that she had read, told by the POV of older men who paid to sleep next to drugged girls. And how in the Bible King David goes out to sleep next to sleeping virgins. This and including her own recurring dream of being filmed while asleep. Let her question the vulnerability we all have while we dream. How easy it is to take advantage of a person in the situation while one is unconscious, and how that would wreak havoc on a person's mind, destabilizing them mentally, emotionally, and physically. Going back to when Lucy was serving brandy to the questionable gentleman, there was a live portrait of a beautiful woman sleeping in some sheets, turning every once in a while, fully nude, preluding to Lucy's near future. Lucy's first day being promoted to a sleeping beauty. She's picked up from college by a driver and taken to an exquisite mansion. She meets our Ghislaine-like character, Clara, and is told to shower and drink a cup of tea. The first man, we like to call him Man One, talks to Clara. Man One tells Clara a story in a book he had read that his brother had gotten him. The story was about a man constantly craving adventure, someplace foreign from his home. He craves one more time and hitchhikes a ride from a man. They get into a crash, but the main character survives. Months later, he is healed. The man hears a voice. The voice says, I say to thee, rise up and walk. None of your bones are broken. Man one tells Clara he has left his friends and family behind in pursuit of success and has achieved it, but that now all his bones are broken. Man one scene gave off an eerie feeling like something might happen, and this feeling of hopeless, dark desperation. Lucy's life starts to change, starting with her roommate kicking Lucy out of the home. She finds a new place. No tour, just a credit card in hand and the desire to have shelter. The place she leases is not a shabby environment either. It looks like a very nice apartment with huge window walls and a view of the city. It seems she is getting paid enough to help give herself opportunities she did not have before. In the film, Lucy is called to be a sleeping beauty a total of 4 times. Her life changes in between each session, but so does her mental state. Lucy soon loses Birdman as he overdoses on pills, losing a sense of understanding and companionship. She starts to indulge in comfort through the form of drugs and a cute coworker. She begins to wonder what happens to her while she is under and eventually asks Clara if she can film it. Clara denies, but as Lucy is in the luxurious bed waiting for the tea to take her, she pushes herself to plant the spy camera in the room, then falls unconscious. Man one comes into the room with Clara. She's carrying the tea set on a silver tray and pours a cup. She asks if he is sure. He drinks. Clara leaves. We fade into the next scene where Man one is laying next to Lucy. Clara walks into the room and finds Man one dead. Fearing he took Lucy with him, she panics and starts shaking and slapping Lucy awake. It works, and I do feel that Clara was only panicking for herself and not for Lucy's life. Just the issues she would have to deal with because a girl died on her watch, aka dead girls are not good for business. Not this one, at least. Lucy awakens to find the man next to her dead, and in a cathartic way, she screams, blood-curdling cries. This is the loudest she has been during the movie. Even while Birdman died, she did not break down and wail in pain. Only soft tears, sniffles, and whimpers filled the scene. However, waking to a similar sight, being the comfort of yet another dying man, as he passes, seems to break her from the shackles of her soft suffering. There is something about Sleeping Beauty, and that is that the pursuit of survival is through exploitation. At least that is the reality of many lower class individuals trying to get to a better life. Julia Lee's peculiar interest in all these creepy stories about older men sleeping and taking advantage of a situation where there are sleeping girls or virgins runs a lot deeper than just curiosity. Yes, it's curiosity, sure, but Julia Lee relayed her fear-filled nightmares of being one of those girls. Knowing that stories of these kinds of perversions are even in the Bible is enough to make you think harder about how long this kind of intimate invasion has been going on for. With the Epstein files cracking open a huge conspiracy, more and more people have their ears open to similar situations around the world now. A group of high-profile, elite, and questionable people taking advantage of the underprivileged is a conspiracy that's been going on probably since leadership was invented. As we get older, we start to feel the slip of control over our own autonomy and actions, creating the fear of getting old. And who else in this world has that fear, but to a crippling extent? The dark tetrad of personalities. Narcissists, psychopaths slash sociopaths, both under the umbrella of psychopathy, being similar yet differ in some traits. Machiavellian and sadists. All these personalities have the same hunger for power and control, and as they get older, the more and more that hunger grows, as everyone knows. We all must surrender to aging and death one day. Sometimes these personalities take control of death by committing self-unaliving, going out on their terms. As we could see from Man 1, that was his choice of dealing with his own mortality. Man 2, the man that had tripped Lucy while she was served the brandy in the movie, had his own way of dealing with this life crisis, and that was to feel power in not finding comfort in a soft and warm presence while he took his last breaths, but to take advantage of a young and vulnerable person he deemed as weaker. Man 2 grabs and pushes and even slaps Lucy around a bit during his session with her while calling her names and muttering hate-filled words in her ear. It made me feel he was almost jealous of her youth. Let's also take a look at Man 3 and what he did with Lucy during his session. He was nearly nude, but all he did was pick up Lucy, cradling her in his arms as he stood above the bed. But before he could play out the rest of his fantasy, he collapsed, dropping Lucy on accident. As I watched that scene play out, I came to a conclusion. It was his poor health. Yet when he was holding her and I was waiting to see what would happen, I did not get a sense of malevolence, but a sense of yearning to feel strong and heroic once again. Each man having their own desire being fulfilled, all of those desires fulfilling the same purpose, to be comforted with the illusion of power and control. What else is more power hungry than the questionable people at the top of society, flaunting their wealth and privilege, running endlessly on their hedonic treadmill, always out to prove just how much better they are than everybody else. But as we are all warned, once you make something your entire personality, what happens when it's not an option for you anymore? What happens if you feel it is slipping from your grasp? A well-adjusted person may be able to adapt and find another part of their personality to indulge and express, while someone else who is not as well-rounded of a person will do whatever they can to keep what they feel makes them whole. And that is not working on their inner self, but taking advantage of everything else around them. Conclusion: Sleeping Beauty is not about the exploitation of the struggling and lost lower class, but about desperate deviancy for continued control disguised as elite and luxurious bizarre rituals and indulgences. It is exposing the sad truth that is on both ends of this kind of very real reality, both sides thinking they are taking advantage of the other in their own way, but both eventually feeling powerless and afraid as the high of profit or the high of the control wears off. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the video. I know everybody has their own interpretation of things, so let me know what you think about this movie. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.